A woman from Perth, Western Australia, was shocked when she opened a bag of grapes she had bought at one of the supermarkets. Inside the pack of fruit, which the woman wanted to give to her daughter, there was a venomous spider. And if I tried to touch it with my finger, then... Stories like this spread around the world about a week ago, sometime at the beginning of March, when the internet was once again buzzing with articles describing the case of a woman from Australia who opened a pack of grapes and found a venomous spider inside. I did a bit of digging on the internet, and as it turns out, over the past several years on various, let's say, questionable reliability websites, magazines, or other informational sites like Polsat News or TVN24, you can find almost identical articles from different years about a venomous spider, yes, that spider, that was found in a pack of grapes. I thought it'd make a great video idea since such articles keep popping up and spreading, attracting viewers and clicks. Maybe let's focus on an article. I actually have one open here from TVN24 on TVN Meteo. And there's a big picture showing a spider. What kind of spider is that? This spider is native to its habitat, appearing naturally in its home environment. The Latrodectus hasselti spider is found in Australia, New Zealand, and possibly Southeast Asia. And the whole Latrodectus genus, which in Polish are called widows, is a type that inhabits practically the whole world, almost the entire world, except for the coldest regions of our planet. Europe also has Latrodectus spiders. And this is a genus that is mainly known for including the so-called black widow. That's its common Polish name, which refers to Latrodectus magnans. This is the black widow found in Mexico and the United States, but not shown in this picture. This is Latrodectus hasselti. This is its close cousin, which actually comes from Australia and is also quite venomous. Spiders from the Latrodectus genus are known for having a strong neurotoxic venom, which can cause latrodectism, which can cause some unpleasant, let's call them, symptoms in humans, and in particularly critical and extreme cases, it can even cause death, I believe. This doesn't apply to all widow spiders. There are several dozen species, and not all of them are black widows. Here, the name black widow often appears in the headlines of these articles. In the case of this specimen, that name is incorrect, because we will only call a spider from the species Latrodectus magnans a black widow. All other Latrodectus spiders, like this one, or for example these two spiders I have here, which I will tell you about and show you in a moment, are also widows, but they are not black widows, even though they belong to the Latrodectus genus and are cousins of the black widow. The article was accompanied by a huge photo of the spider. Christy Backman did her shopping on February 25th. She wrote about finding the spider in the fruit on the social media profile of the Australian supermarket chain Woolworths. When I wanted to wash a handful of grapes for my 1-year-old daughter, I found a spider web and a live spider, she said on Tuesday. She attached a photo showing a small spider next to the fruit. The woman added that she informed the store where she did her shopping about it and that they offered her a second bag of grapes. The store also acted very fairly in this situation. Another case. A few days earlier, near Brisbane, on the other side of Australia, another woman shopping at a store of the same chain made a similar discovery. Lonnie Neal reported finding a live spider on the store's Facebook page on Saturday, stating they take such reports seriously. Let's take care of this matter. The chain responded to the customer's post in Brisbane. And now here there's a very large highlighted sign. They're venomous. Of course they're venomous. All spiders from the Latrodectus genus are venomous. What's more, this venom, as I mentioned, is quite powerful, at least in some cases. That doesn't mean that all spiders are venomous, because here's an interesting fact. If we take all the spiders on Earth, all the described species, it turns out that exactly 289 species at this moment are completely devoid of venom. They don't have venom glands, they can't inject venom, so they have to digest their prey in some other way. This is where digestive juices play their role. But if someone tries to tell you that all spiders are venomous, you can say, sorry, but you're wrong, because not all spiders are venomous. A tiny group, including the Uluboridae family and 2 species from the oh Jesus, what were they called? Oh my goodness. I can't recall at the moment, but there are 2 other species from a different family found in New Zealand. These are also completely non-venomous, so that's just an interesting fact aside from the article itself. As for the article, yes, they are venomous, we already know that. They are highly venomous, we know that too. And what's more, their venom is strong enough that, along with 4 other species, including the black widow, that is Latrodectus magnans, Latrodectus hasselti is also listed in the regulation on dangerous species in Poland. What does that mean? It means that, for example, if I had Latrodectus hasseltii in this container, you could report me to the police right now. And to other authorities, and they would come here and lock me up. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they would put me in jail. Anyway, just an ordinary guy like Kowalski can have 5 species, which are mactans, the black widow, hasseltii, Tradecim guttatus, variolus, and I think Ikatipo. Oh, Ikatipo is actually a beautiful spider, by the way. I can't have these 5 species. They're only allowed in scientific institutions, probably in zoos, so generally not for private, let's call it keeping. However, widows like these, except for those 5 species, are completely legal. You don't need any permit for them, and you can normally have a Latrodectus elegans, Latrodectus menawodich, or Latrodectus hesperus, which is a very close cousin of the black widow. You can normally keep them at home, you can breed them, you can feed them, you can take care of them, and no one will do anything to you because it's fully legal. What's next? They're venomous, right? We left off at they're venomous. Where is that part? Women? The spiders that these 2 women found in the bags of grapes belong to the species Latrodectus hasseltii. Venomous spiders are found throughout Australia and other parts of the world. They also occur in Southeast Asia and I think in New Zealand. These are venomous spiders found throughout Australia, especially in urban areas. They are an invasive species, also found in New Zealand and Japan. They are closely related to the black widow. Yes, they belong to the same genus, they are in the same family, and they look quite similar because all of these Latrodectus type spiders, they are black with some red markings, sometimes with other patterns, and they have that characteristic black widow look. Since the discovery of the antidote in 1956, there have been no recorded deaths caused by the bite of this species. Annually, around 2,000 bites are reported, but the accuracy of this information is uncertain. I mean, like those 2,000 bites, I assume those statistics come from somewhere and not just made up out of thin air. So those bites really do happen. But listen, these widows, meaning Latrodectus spiders, if you look closely at some shots of what these spiders look like, they have such tiny chelicerae. And honestly, it really takes some effort for them to actually bite a human. I know it doesn't take much, just literally a fraction of a millimeter for it to get under the skin. But honestly, these spiders, it's not like they hunt humans or that if you just touch them, they'll attack us or anything like that. Here's a good example that I experienced myself and that you're seeing now. This is the defense mechanism of Latrodectus elegans, which is one of the widow spiders I have here. And this method involves a kind of, well, fanning motion. She lifts herself up and down on her legs, and if I tried to touch her with my finger, she would instantly release a very sticky, very unpleasant bundle of web, and my finger would get attacked like that so that I would go away, or so that my finger would get stuck in the web. If something gets stuck in their web, it doesn't threaten them. The female's body length is about 1 centimeter. Widows aren't actually giant spiders. Let's be real. This Latrodectus menawodi that I have here is actually pretty big, but usually, they're just, well, spiders like this at most. That's it. Males, on the other hand, are much smaller, reaching about 5 millimeters. Yes, with widows, meaning Latrodectus, there's sexual dimorphism, right? Whether the male is different from the female and so on. Females are distinguished by a red or orange stripe on their back. They're black in color, that's right. They're very beautiful, by the way. I love the coloration of the Latrodectus genus. The fact that they're black or that dark cherry color. These spiders with their red, white, or yellow markings are simply amazing and beautiful. And by the way, those are also warning colors, right? They tell you not to touch this spider because you'll get hurt. In 2022, a Woolworths customer also found a spider of this species in a bag of grapes. A month later, a woman from New South Wales came across a spider, also in a bag of the same kind of fruit, bought at a store from a different chain. And as for the summary of such an article, well, it's a bit like if articles started appearing in Poland, which by the way they do, saying that, for example, a noble false widow spider was found. And it's exactly these kinds of articles about spiders that normally occur, even if invasively, like in the case of that widow spider. The noble false widow spider is not an invasive species, but rather a native one. Articles like that drive up viewership and get lots of clicks because people are fascinated by the discovery of a spider. On one hand, such articles are good because they serve as a warning. The warning about the Caracanthium spider is generally acceptable, as it's helpful to be aware that a spider exists which could potentially bite and cause discomfort. That's good, but in the case of the widow spider, it's still good that such articles exist, because they make people aware that this spider is highly venomous, that you need to be careful not to underestimate it, and if it bites a child, if you don't administer, for example, I don't know, an antidote or something, then in extreme cases it could end in death. However, you have to remember that such articles are based on someone encountering a spider in the area where it occurs. And that's it, it's just a chance encounter with a spider in rather unexpected circumstances, in this case in a bag of grapes. However, these things do happen. These spiders are very industrial, they're somewhat connected to humans, and they occur in areas where humans are present. We will inevitably come across spiders like the Startling genus in Poland, which belongs to the same family as widows and resembles them. These synanthropic spiders live in human-inhabited areas, so encounters are unavoidable. Now that we have a basic understanding of the topic, right? So, she encountered a widow, not a black widow, but a widow, which is potentially very venomous. I think I can show you what I have here. On my channel, you've already had the chance to see Latrodectus elegans, Hesperus, and Menowodi, which are the 3 species I've had the honor of hosting here. Unfortunately, my Latrodectus Hesperus has already died, but I still have some beautiful widows like Latrodectus elegans, which is definitely one of the most beautifully colored species of the entire genus. I recorded a full video about Latrodectus elegans. Kubazayons also made a video about it, as I recall. This female Latrodectus elegans is thriving under my care. I feed her and find her absolutely beautiful. Really, the red color that spreads across the abdomen of this female is just amazing. As far as I know, Latrodectus elegans is a spider found in China, Japan, and Eastern Asia. It doesn't inhabit this region. Here in Europe, we have our own Latrodectus, which actually has a venom that's probably even stronger than the black widows. It's called Caracut, which is a name that sounds pretty scary, and it can be found in southern Europe around the Mediterranean basin and so on. And I think you can also find it in China as well. And this Caracut has a rather difficult and long scientific name. It's Latrodectus tridectim guttatus. And the tridectim guttatus part comes from the fact that it has 13 spots on its abdomen, which is what the name refers to. Indeed, the spider is also beautiful but extremely venomous, so be cautious if you encounter one, for example, in Greece. However, the second specimen that I have here, which you can't see at the moment but you can see in the close-ups, is Latrodectus menowodi, which is a spider from Africa, and it lives on islands like the Comoros, Madagascar, and so on. And this female that's sitting here, I recently overfed her terribly because I gave her such a little widow, a huge larva of a woodworm, which is a very popular feeder insect. And listen, she handled it just fine. Widows weave such a web that they're even able to catch vertebrates in it. So the web is very sticky, very strong, and poses a potential threat even to larger and stronger, not just insects or arachnids, but actually to vertebrates as well. And this female is really interesting because she's so clumsy on flat surfaces. You'll see it for yourselves. I wanted to record her on a flat surface to show you what she looks like, her color, how she shines, how pretty she is, how bulbous she is, because she's huge. This abdomen is so full, not overfed, just well fed, that it just looks hilarious. And on these flat surfaces, widows don't really manage all that well. They thrive on their own web, similar to Trichonephila, which I recently recorded about. So, if you ever find a spider that's black with red markings in fruit, like in bananas or in grapes, or other fruits that are imported, for example, to Poland, remember that it's not always going to be a widow. For example, there's a spider called Steatoda paeculiana, and yes, it's venomous. It belongs to the Steatoda genus, but it's only mildly venomous. In terms of appearance, though, it looks just like a true Latrodectus: black, thin legs, web building, red markings. You could easily get scared of such a spider, even though it's practically harmless. Alright, since I've shown off my knowledge, I'll leave you with some views of the Latrodectus spiders and we'll end this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know. Likes, subs, etc. Bye. you.